Good morning, everybody, and here as a quick recap, the fundamentals of one-point perspective for interior room drawings. Thought actually I start this with getting 4 images, and that are actually very good examples to show you how in a professional environment such a photo is being made. Because essentially that's then also the way how we can sketch those out. So each one is actually a kitchen, besides one is actually a living room. So what are the principles of one-point perspective? Well, they all actually, because it's one-point perspective, have one vanishing point. And all the vertical lines are going vertical and they are perpendicular to the horizon line, and all horizontal lines go horizontal. Vertical and horizontal lines can be measured, and all other lines, they converge to the vanishing point. So for example, in this image here, it is very good to see. So let me make a new layer. Let's get a nice signal color. Okay, good. And give me my line tool. So for example, when you have such a photo, how do we find actually the vanishing point? We can actually draw over existing edges our lines. From there, for example, from there. Also maybe from here. So if I continue and everything's done correctly, they have to meet. And you see, they already do that. So even there, or even here, this one. Let's take a look at that one. I drew this a little bit in front of the door because the door is a little bit more inserted. So you see, these are actually all lines that go to the vanishing point. That also means that, for example, here with the furniture, everything is positioned so that the sides of the chairs are perfectly parallel to the wall. So everything has a 90-degree angles. Okay, let me make a new layer. This one I change a little bit. Okay, so now let's take a look at all the other lines we have. So for example, I mentioned all horizontal lines and all vertical lines are different. They do not converge. So as you can see here, there we have our horizontal lines. And all these lines, which I'm drawing here right now, they are all parallel to the horizon line. The horizon line, which I'm drawing here right now, that's the line that goes through the point of where our vanishing point is, where all the lines converge on. This line is also equal where our eye level is. There we have another horizontal line. You see they are all, if everything is done correctly, these are all parallel to each other. And because they do not converge, they can be measured to a certain degree. Actually, we can't necessarily measure all the lines in the back, but we can measure actually the front line, which I will come and explain just in a second. So, and then all vertical lines. See there we have vertical line. They all have to be vertical. These are already the must-have rules to obey in perspective drawing for one point. If these rules are not followed, your drawing will never be correct. But because we only have these few rules to follow, it's also pretty easy. You just have to make sure that actually you apply these rules, and then your drawing will be correct. So again, all red lines are lines that actually converge to the vanishing point and therefore shorten. And the green and the blue lines, they all do not foreshorten. The blue lines are all parallel to the horizon line, and the green lines, the verticals, they are all perpendicular to the horizon line. Okay, let's maybe take a look at another image, for example here, there. So maybe just turn this back to red. So let's find actually the vanishing point there. Looks like somewhere there. They have a point through there. Does it work? Yeah, it's somewhere there. Okay. Here we have a nice edge we could follow. Does this line up? Yeah, plus minus. Okay, good. So again, that's actually where the vanishing point is, which means then one line drawn horizontally, that for example is the horizon line. All horizontal lines are parallel to that horizon line. And all vertical lines are, here maybe I just extend them, they're all perpendicular to the horizon line. So you see this is actually quite simple. Okay, so let's look back a little bit. I found that doing something like this, for example, is always a very good practice when you're learning how to draw actually a space freehand. Because sometimes you don't necessarily know how a drawing has to look. Well, then we can just take a photo, like what I did in this case, and then we just try to draw in all the converging lines. We can find this way then the vanishing point, and then where we have the vanishing point, we can then construct the horizon line. And then also pay attention to how all the other lines actually fall in place and then generate later that perspective look we have. So let's take a look at this photo and see how we could find all the lines we need and then reconstruct this drawing in a way so it looks exactly like the photo. So I will do a quick repetition of what we did before. For example, drawing lines that I know I have to converge to the vanishing point somewhere. Same from there. So it's probably there. I can use this window. Yeah, it looks like there we have the vanishing point. Let's try this one. If we go to there, does it line up? Good. For example, if the line would be there, then maybe that would mean that the furniture piece is rotated, or maybe that the wall is not 90 degree. Okay, perfect. So here we now have our horizontal line. And that's kind of like what I was all looking for most of the stuff. And I will lower the visibility a little bit so it's just in the background and make a new layer, because now it's time to create actually the room first. So you would say, well, how could I draw the room, because you don't really see all the edges. But the nice thing is I see a lot of lines. So for example, up here, if I draw a line, that is the top edge of my room, and if I continue this line straight horizontally till it hits my vanishing line there, that's actually the top left corner of the room. And then here this line will go exactly straight down perpendicular to the horizontal line. That is my left room wall. Truth is, I don't really know where actually the wall is for the back and the left, sorry, the bottom edge. So I'll try to guess a little bit here. So let's assume maybe the line is roughly there. So again, this one has to be horizontal. So what I can do now is, because I need to find also the left top and bottom corner edges, now from the vanishing point I can draw a line through that corner and through that corner. And if I turn this one maybe off for a moment, there you start seeing there is actually our room. So let's clean this up a little bit. I do not necessarily want to see all these lines, just some helpers are fine. And there we have it. So that's kind of like our room. So, and always start to draw with, or start to draw the easiest part first. Never start really with the complicated parts. So for example, let's take a look at the window. So the window here we can, for example, coming from the vanishing point, whoops, not that way. From the vanishing point we can make a line there, and from the vanishing point a line there, because then we actually can do a vertical line between these two lines, and then you see, hey, there is actually our window. So I would like to turn off this image for a second, because this is essentially what you see right now. Now we would like to draw the depth of the window. And again, the rule of one-point perspective is all horizontal and vertical lines remain straight, vertical, and horizontal. Everything else has a vanishing to the vanishing point. So that means for the thickness of the window, so the wall depth, I can draw simply, let's say here, this is easy to see, a horizontal line. So coming from the vanishing point through the end, and then another vertical line straight down. That's the other rule. Then from here a horizontal line, and through where these two lines meet, another line. Let me move this one up, and I'm going to merge this one there, and then I will clean up the stuff a little bit so you can see how we actually got to there. So and let's clean this thing in the inside up. There. Okay, good. Now that window is easier to see and less misreading. Okay. Let's maybe show this one more time. So now it's time to, for example, draw, let's say countertop. So we can, for example, start with the back wall till it hits somewhere. So this is the far back height. And then coming from the vanishing point through this line, we continue drawing. And that is actually now the far left corner. And I'm a genius, I put these lines onto the wrong layer. So I will do this one more time. So this is horizontal, and then coming from the vanishing point through there, there's that one. Okay. And then this one here I will loosen up a little bit. There you see it. Now, because we actually do not know where the rest is on the ground, we will actually use the photo to construct what's visible, and then we will construct everything down. So what that means is, from the vanishing point, I will draw another line till there. You see that? Let me move the view to the side, and then I go over. And here I will extend this a little bit. Unfortunately, we run off the page, but you see actually they are very close to meet each other. Also here in the back, I draw a line horizontally. And there again, you see why I say all the time, draw big, don't draw small, because otherwise your drawings will look very, very difficult to read, and you can make drawing mistakes very easily when you draw too small. So now we have the top area. Perfect. So how do we actually find, for example, the bottom shape? So let me turn this one off for the moment so you don't see it. And I will create myself a small helper layer. And turn this one on there, because right there we have two lines touching each other, which is perfect. So there are two ways how I can now make use of that. So for example, I could from this point draw to the vanishing line, and then where it actually touches the back line, there I draw a line down. From the vanishing point I draw a line through the bottom edge, because what I'm going to circle now, that is basically the ground corner or edge. And then because we have this one point here, there we go, straight vertical down. There we have now actually projected this edge on the ground. Actually would be roughly there. To show you that these principles are always the same, we'll make it, we will do one more. For example, in this case here we go horizontal. We can do that because now we're in 1 point perspective. Where it then touches this black line, I go straight down, because these lines all define the boundary edges of the volume, actually, where the cabinetry and the countertop will be in, and then straight horizontal. And there we are. To illustrate this a little bit more, there, as you can see, are actually small planes. Okay, so with this done, because this was very helpful for now coming from the vanishing point, I simply just don't do that, but we'll do this, draw a line so it lines up correctly there. And then here's our horizontal line. Perfect. There we have it. So for example, here one line straight down, here a line straight down, and where then it touches the other one, that's actually then the bottom front corner, and then here this goes horizontal, and the rest we don't really see. Okay, let's see actually how close I was, and I am. You can see pretty close to where the doors and all the stuff is. So let's say, how do we in this image, for example, do the island in front? It's actually pretty simple. So here I just simply draw my line for this edge. Again, 1 point perspective, these lines go horizontal. The rest is actually simply parallel to the horizon line when they're horizontal lines, or vertical like this one, and horizontal. So I actually would like to find the back corner of this box. In this case, to find that, it is actually pretty simple. And I again made the mistake that I drew this one onto the incorrect layer. Sorry for that. So let me repeat this one more time. There, and there, and there. So let's say we would like to draw this one in a way so that actually we do not have these doors, but it's actually a hollow shape. Actually, I will remove these lines first. So let's hide this one so you can see actually what I will be doing. So let's go with red again, and to the vanishing point I draw a line, because actually part of this edge is this upper edge just on the ground, and now I need to figure out the depth. 1 point perspective, this line goes straight down. There it is. So here now in black I can actually, or I could draw this line and this line. I will actually undo this step, because currently that would mean our furniture piece is paper thin, which it is not. So let's actually add a little bit of material volume. So this is actually the thickness, and now I need to do again the same from here, go to the vanishing point, and there it is, cuts horizontally. There's actually now the back edge, and I have actually found now all the necessary lines, because now I could go ahead and say, so this one goes to there, this one 1 point perspective goes straight up, this 1 point perspective goes straight to the side, and then this line here goes straight up, and then I just stop at this line because I won't really see anything else anymore. Okay, maybe a little bit of erasing these parts so that the drawing is actually easy to read and logical. And there you have it. So let's draw one more piece. Let's say the cabinets are actually very difficult to draw because there isn't really much left to see. We could actually go ahead and try to draw in that back left corner cabinet. So I'm going to make myself a new test layer. So, for example, from this corner, a line straight down. And maybe here from there, a line straight down. So these are the left and the right edges. And maybe here a line horizontal. And then I need to come from the vanishing point through there, and there is that other corner I've just found, and this one goes down. And now I need to see, well, how far, for example, does this sit on the countertop? So the front horizontal line, now from the vanishing point through there to there. There it is, perfect. So now in black, I can actually draw the lines I need. The nice thing about one-point perspective is it's pretty much basic geometry. And then maybe a little bit of cleanup. So where I, for example, always erase stuff, in real life with pen and paper, I actually would draw harder on the actual lines, and everything else was drawn with very thin lines. Here I'm just removing some of these, so because you wouldn't necessarily really see them. There you can see that now actually that it really sits on the countertop. One last element I would like to draw, and that, for example, is the foot space for the drawers. Because as you can see in our drawing here, everything is kind of like glued onto the ground, and that's not necessarily the way how it would be. So, because this question was brought up, well, why do we draw everything always in boxes? It's kind of like makes no sense, or maybe actually it makes a lot of sense as a beginner. However, you're just not really aware of why we do it that way. So let me remove this line here, and this line there and there. So because I actually created the very basic outline of my my space, where, for example, everything would be in, I could go ahead now and say this is maybe the height to the vanishing point, and I stop there, 1-point perspective, and I go horizontal. But no, I don't really know where, for example, the ground lines are. So now with baby on my arm, how do we finish this drawing? So we have here a line that goes to the left, horizontal, and so I'm going to just fold it into my hand, and a line straight vertical up. So, and what we have then is a line that goes to the vanishing point, and a line that goes to the vanishing point. And this length is what's important. So I say this because down here, for example, I could draw a horizontal line till it touches the red line, and I draw another line, for example, till there. So I need to figure out now what actually looks proportionally like a square. So in this case, it just overlaps. It is like that. Now we have a lot of crazy lines here, but basically this line goes up. Let me show you what we have there. This goes up. So there you see we have another small rectangular plane. And that, for example, then is going to help me to draw in correctly all the missing lines. So for example, this detail here and there, and then in our case this goes over, goes up, and then this goes to there and continues, and also there it continues. Okay, and if we want to correct this, we can clean this up a little bit. So in the previous step we used basically everything we had in the photo and started to construct the perspective view. In this video, let's try to actually draw a space the way how we would do it on paper. So I have my vanishing point. I also have my left vertical room edge. I have my top and my bottom back horizontal edges, and the left two vanishing lines that define the top and the bottom edge. So the way how, for example, I could start working is coming from the vanishing point, and I'm actually kind of like ghosting, whoops, set this one back. So maybe somewhere I will start and then draw this line, or ghost basically this direction, make a nice line, and I, in my case, simply only create this shorter line. So there will be later less lines to look at. The same, for example, I would do also from the ground. So I will ghost to the vanishing point, draw a thin line so that I later can ink this one. I also know this line again has to be vertical. And then again, the easiest step is to do the horizontal parts, because here we can simply draw this one. The vertical lines are vertical, horizontal lines are horizontal, and then from this point, basically coming from the vanishing point, ghosting through it, I can draw a line like this, and coming from the vanishing point, ghosting, and then draw a line like this, which in my case later would look maybe something like this. Okay. So let's say, for example, on the ground, I'm going to move this one to there. I will put down, for example, the rectangle for this part, because that is, for example, plus minus the way how I actually would start drawing this one. I would create myself also a height, say like this, and coming to the vanishing point there, and draw this line over again. This is horizontal, and then in the back, where the back lower edge touches the line that goes to the vanishing point, 1 point perspective, I draw a straight line up, and if everything is drawn correctly, these two lines have to meet. I drew a little bit crooked. So kind of like this area here, all three lines have to meet at 1 point. I just leave it this way so I don't have to redo this part, for the sake of getting this demonstration done pretty fast. So, and for example, let's say we draw this with really thin lines, so it's a nice construction line. Then I can continue and, for example, draw a line straight up. Let's maybe make this one a tick less visible there, so you can see actually the rest better. There, okay. I drew this line straight up because I want to have exactly the same material thickness for the horizontal part. than the vertical one. So I have a small square here that helps me to identify the material thickness. Then from this point I draw a line to the vanishing point, and then there I can draw a line again, 1 point perspective, straight up. Perfect. So now with more pressure I can actually start inking everything. Bring this one over, bring this one over, this goes down, over and back, this goes straight up, this one goes straight up, and then this one goes over to there. So it would look like this, because essentially that's all we only would see. And again, I just drew this one so that actually you do not see the doors and all the stuff below it. So now let's say we have now defined kind of like the center part, and I would like to draw the rest of the countertops along the wall exactly at the same height. So the way how I would continue is somewhere, and I'm coming actually from outside the page, I would define for from the wall to where does actually the bounding box for my cabinetry be. Then I draw a line to the vanishing point. Okay, and hold on, actually I will clear this one, so I have here only construction lines for the next part. So if you need to go back, you can always in the video scroll backwards, and this way it's a little bit easier to see all the different steps. So then I can also, again, because this is 1 point perspective, here draw a horizontal line. And you see that this distance I guessed a little bit. There's, for example, the other one. Okay, so that's what I try to get done. So now we need to figure out, well, how do we do the height? And this is actually a pretty simple task. So I will do this actually with red. So for example, from here I draw a line straight horizontally till it touches the wall, and then here I draw a line horizontally a little bit further, and then where the lower line touches the ground I can do a line straight up there, and that is actually now my height point right there. That was actually the easiest way to figure it out. I could also have drawn everything to the back. For example, from here, draw the line to the vanishing point, say like this, and then there I draw a line straight up. And hold on, this actually, that was not a good choice. Let's go from this corner. There, and then here it goes straight up to somewhere, and then from this corner I draw a line over to the vanishing point, and there you see there is the other point where it touches. Okay, so now actually I would like to draw in the top height for my workspaces. So from here through this point there's actually one line, and for example from there straight horizontal, if everything is done correctly, this has to go to the wall. So you see it's probably a little bit I think maybe this backline here should be a little bit higher, so it should be more there. So maybe, yeah, I will just keep it there, and then where it cuts, I bring this one simply over, like there. Okay. Perfect. So now I need to figure out the next step. So let me actually make this red again. Let me see where this line touches the red one. There, at least in the way how I constructed it. That's actually where the next corner would be. So on the other side, that here would be there. See, I draw from the ground straight up till it hits the top edge there. So you might ask yourself, what's this one for? Because when I now come from the vanishing point and draw a line through there, continue drawing it, that's actually my height. And here, simply horizontal and horizontal the other way. So if everything is correct, this goes down. These lines have to line up, and they do. And for example, up here, this is actually, let's say, the front corner, and then this can go over. So let's go to the correct drawing. So now I can actually put a little bit more ink on the correct lines. There, there, this goes to there, and down, this goes over till there, and then we continue at the back. There, we have there the line, and there's a line. Okay. Let's turn this one off for a second, and there you can see it. Clean this up, because this line we don't really see. See? So, not actually very complicated. Just removing these lines so they don't confuse you, because this is actually stuff we would see at the back. And in the final drawing we don't really see this, and actually the same is true also with this complete line. Okay, so let's wrap this one up. Let's say we would like to draw the sink, and maybe the drawer, and then the dishwasher in between, because actually it looks complicated. It's pretty simple. Clear layer, yes, there, and line. So as always, as I said, construct stuff, don't eyeball. So I would like to get all the drawers onto the same height. So I come on this as an underlay for construction purpose. I create myself some guidelines. So you see with this one, here in the front, I decided the height. Now, 1 point perspective. Here where it cuts that vertical line, I can simply go horizontal. That's actually where all the other bottom edges are. I could also say, well, maybe down here, there's that other edge. And then from the vanishing point through there, continue, there's the other edge. Perfect. So you see, not complicated. On top, I would like to put in the sink. So here I only draw construction lines as much as I need, because let's say here I would like to have my sink, and these lines are horizontal again. At the front, this is actually very easy. Here we could, for example, draw simply equal distances, because all let's say the drawers have the same proportion, so even while this is further away, we could just decide on a measurement and then equally space everything out. So on the left side, this is now a little bit more tricky because instead of 4 we have 3. But then again, we do the usual technique of maybe could, for example, subdivide everything there. And then this way at least we know where is, for example, the mid-axis. And now we actually make use of mirroring because we're dealing with 3 and not with 2 or 4. So to the front, I will decide maybe, oh, this line is too hard to see. Maybe here will be one edge. Now I just need to figure out where is this line on the other side, so it's proportionally correct. And actually this I will turn off right now because it won't necessarily line up correctly. So to use the mirroring technique, we can actually see right there it cuts the diagonal. So from the vanishing point I draw a line, there it cuts the other diagonal, so right there I need a vertical line, and there we have it. So now with more pressure I can actually now go ahead, put down all the lines we need. I skip the others. Here, for example, the sink goes down, so we should actually put this one down, but the sink does not really go down, or does not go directly to the wall. So we want to have a little bit of a small gap there. So let me undo these lines. So we do it this way. There, there, there. Let's put this one down. Yeah, see, that looks actually more believable. And there you see it. This way I actually created 3 doors kind of like on the left wall by using the mirroring technique. If, for example, now we have 2 or 4, that's a lot easier because then all we need to do is with 2 we subdivide it in one time, and then with 4, for example, this space I would subdivide one more time. There's the next one, there the one we have, and this one I subdivide one more time. There's the next one, and then I just draw all these lines in there that way. Okay, so that was basically a quick repetition of how you could learn also understanding one-point perspective by taking a photo that is actually also shot correctly, and then like in the first stage try to draw in all the necessary lines so you're more familiar with how things have to look. And then on a new sheet, for example, you could go ahead and then try to create everything via the methods we started to learn since day 1 in this class.